Just to kind of orient you as to where we are, behind me is the Capitol building. They are heading in the direction of the White House, which of course has been ground zero for the protests here in Washington over the past week. Could that flexibility include moving events elsewhere if the case counts continue to rise in Florida, even possibly back to Charlotte if the cases stabilize there? To say there are positive vibes in this room would be an understatement right now, Amy. What had been a watch party is now certainly a victory party. Within moments of the polls closing an hour ago, the Associated Press, several other news agencies coming out and declaring Joe Biden the winner in this race. Agriculture is the heartbeat of the North Carolina economy, but for farmers here on the ground, fights both in Washington and overseas are causing a whole lot of heartburn. Explain to me why you shouldn't hear what he has to say if he says there's information.
Explain to me why they didn't go through the process of subpoenaing him. Mike
Bloomberg spent big in this state. We are talking $7.3 million spent on ad buys. We're talking television, digital, etc. And right now, 9.4%. Why is that an important figure, Tim? Because 15% is the amount you need statewide to start getting statewide delegates. Some Republicans have even speculated, including Mark Walker, who I spoke to a few days ago, that this could all be just completely forgotten by the time we get to November. The news cycle is just so quick nowadays. Just to give you a better sense of the power of the storm surge, this trailer here was originally parked way over there in front of the store before the storm began. It was supposed to serve as a sort of buffer against the winds. How optimistic are you that this will get resolved, that there will be some resolution to this trade fight? This is not the first time a North Carolina state gobbler has been spared the oven courtesy of the President of the United States. The last time was back in 2009. This tradition of pardoning turkeys, by the way, dates back to the George H.W. Bush era. Senator Tom Tillis, a Republican up for re-election this year, his campaign account sending out a tweet basically mocking Nancy Pelosi. Take a look at it. If you remember last night at the end of the State of the Union, she ripped up the speech that the president delivered. And in this case, if you see this video, Tillis is ripping up the articles of impeachment. So obviously this video prepared ahead of time, released just briefly after those votes were cast. Now, obviously Tillis sees some electoral benefit in this. He released a digital ad, his campaign did earlier today, also going after basically the impeachment process, saying North Carolinians are tired of this. I've been talking to lawmakers from the North Carolina delegation. It depends on really who you talk to, whether or not they believe impeachment will have any electoral benefit by the time we get to November. Congressman Mark Walker suggesting this will probably almost all be forgotten because the news cycle moves so quickly. Meanwhile, Patrick McHenry, a congressman on the Republican side of the aisle, suggesting that this could give Republicans a way to attack Democrats. Democrats, meanwhile, defending their choice to go forward with impeachment, saying it was about protecting the Constitution. Here's some of that back and forth.
I think this has been clarifying for the American people that there's not a policy agenda from the Democrats. It is just a Trump obsession that they have had.
I think that we did the right thing. We have to protect our Constitution and our democracy. I think the president has defied that. He has also defied Congress.
Big picture now, Gallup polling suggests that throughout the course of the impeachment fight, going back to last fall, the president has actually seen his approval rating tick upward. Now, whether or not this is just a blip on the radar or if this will last through November, that we simply do not know. Tim? Are you still confident that the post office will be able to handle this at this point?
Oh, I think they will if these restrictions are not put on them.
New concerns from lawmakers on Capitol Hill amid multiple reports that cost-cutting operational changes at the U.S. Postal Service are sparking a mail backlog. The news coming as many Americans are looking to vote by mail this November. Charlotte area Democratic Representative Alma Adams helped lead this letter to congressional leaders, writing the potential for votes to go uncounted or for their delivery to be delayed threatens the integrity of the upcoming election.
If people can't get out to vote safely, then we have to rely on the post office. And I think we need to make sure that we safeguard the post office ability to get the mail delivered.
The letter comes as President Donald Trump is offering mixed messages about mail-in voting, raising unsubstantiated claims about widespread voter fraud, while at the same time encouraging people in Florida, a battleground state this fall, to vote by mail. He also has questioned whether the Postal Service is capable of handling a surge in ballots.
The post office for many, many years has been, run in a fashion that hasn't been great. I don't think the post office is prepared for a thing like this.
In an email, a spokesman for the Postal Service said they remain committed to delivering election mail in a timely manner consistent with our operational standards. A top Republican donor, Louis DeJoy, recently took over the role of Postmaster General. Citing years of financial losses at the Postal Service, he has called for the organization to operate efficiently and effectively. A spokesman for the North Carolina State Board of Elections tells me they're recommending voters put their ballot in the mail a week before Election Day at the latest. That said, a ballot will still count in North Carolina provided it is postmarked on or before Election Day and arrives no later than 3 days after the election. Not just one, but two homes, the other across the street, flattened by the brute force of Florence. In some cases, that storm surge around here reaching several feet. Now, we have already seen the impact across this area, and really two different stories are playing out. In some cases, folks already looking to the cleanup process, looking to rebuild. In other cases, like those here, folks have no place to call home. Everywhere you look, Florence left its mark. Boats dumped on dry land, river water washed into homes.
We've sprayed several times with an anti-mold agent.
In some cases, they are already starting the gutting out process, removing the floor and walls. Many count themselves as lucky, saying it could have been worse.
Everything we sell is just stuff that we can replace. It's luxury items.
At the Franklin Antique Mall, they're clearing everything out, separating what can be kept from what needs to be tossed.
We got people here that we don't know who they are helping out today because they want us to be successful.
Just to give you a better sense of the power of the storm surge, this trailer here was originally parked way over there in front of the store before the storm began. It was supposed to serve as a sort of buffer against the winds. The governor, who surveyed the damage in New Bern Monday, says the recovery process will last months, possibly even years.
Our infrastructure, we got to help businesses get back on their feet, and we got to help people.
But while some are able to rebuild their homes, others have no home to go back to. The storm surge flattening whole buildings in one neighborhood, a place where people just do not have the money to rebuild.
For these people that live here, they're really out of options right now, and that's unfortunate. And they're going to need help. They really are. Back in this community now, this is a sign that is sitting right next to one of these flattened homes. It reads, "Yes, we need help. God bless America." And so that begs the question, what happens to these families now? Who will help them? USC senior Jonah Rothholtz voted for Donald Trump in 2016, hoping for someone to mix things up in Washington. 4 years later, he's now leaning toward Bernie Sanders.
This generation has seen that the status quo doesn't work.
While he doesn't agree with all of Sanders' ideas, he believes the Vermont senator is correctly identifying what's not working.
Whether it's on healthcare, whether it's the cost of attending university, these problems have been getting worse for so long.
On the University of South Carolina campus, Sanders' name came up more often than others. Students, including members of the African-American voting bloc, Joe Biden is hoping will help him reset his campaign here, pointing to Sanders as their choice.
Probably Bernie Sanders, just because he's been consistent in his beliefs for decades and decades and decades.
He cares a lot about people that don't have a lot of money and minorities, unlike some of the other candidates. And he's all about making college free. And I have a lot of debt from undergrad, so.
The prospect of a Sanders nomination has some people concerned. In North Carolina, some Democratic leaders are sounding the alarm about his policy goals. In a recent interview on Capitol Tonight, Congresswoman Alma Adams, who is backing Biden, warned that if Sanders is the nominee in the fall, it could have a negative impact on down-ballot races.
He comes with a lot of baggage, I think. A vote for Bernie around here will mean that we're going to lose our governor.
But not everyone here in Columbia is necessarily worried about his Democratic Socialist bona fides. At Kiki's Chicken and Waffles, Biden supporter Valencia Thomas told me that while that label may bother some, it doesn't bother her.
I really was torn between Bernie and Joe Biden, but because Joe Biden has prior experience, then that leads me to be more in line with, I guess, for that reason.
Now, the latest polling in this state has Biden beating Sanders, though the margin varies from a few points to double digits depending on the poll. In North Carolina, keep in mind, the latest polling shows Sanders, Biden, and Bloomberg all vying for the top spot. Reporting in Columbia, South Carolina, I'm Kevin Frey, Spectrum News.
It starts with a fiddle and a dance. And when you add in the accordion, the Fat Tuesday tradition takes shape once again.
There's no other place you can come on a Tuesday morning, dance around with a bunch of drunks and play music and, just have a good time.
They've been celebrating this way in Mamou for more than a century, parading through town and creating a little happy chaos.
So, as a first-timer, what should I know?
You should know to be careful and to watch the horses, respect the horses, and respect the drunks.
Today, their first stop, a nursing home. A chance to say thanks to those who first taught them how to let the good times roll. Up next, it's time to make the gumbo. Including chasing that main ingredient, the chicken.
I catch chicken every year. Most I ever caught was 3, and this is my first one today, so.
And while the celebration may evolve, they no longer cook the birds they catch. The tradition remains alive, ready to be passed on to the next generation.
That's what we do. We drink beer, chase chickens, and dance.
That does it for us in Mamou. Have a good Mardi Gras, everybody. I'm going to go try some dancing. Let's see how this turns out.